Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's legal battle is dividing Hollywood, but have we finally reached a turning point? Will this even make it to trial? We got Eric Gardner here from Puck to break it down. I am so excited for this conversation. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor. So honored to have Eric Gardner here from the Puck newsletter, which I read religiously. You guys give the best insight around town. Welcome to the show, Eric. How you doing?
Hey, Andy. I'm doing well.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry I missed you in the court. It was such a chaotic day. We don't have our phones. There's so much going on. That was my first time in the hearing, but you've been to a couple of these hearings, or at least you've seen Lyman hearings.
Hollywood is buzzing with one question, and the answer is unsettling. Why is Blake Lively still pursuing this? The legal expert confirmed what many suspected. There's no clear path where anyone emerges victorious. This isn't just about a lawsuit, it's about a baffling celebrity chess match, where the end game seems to hurt everyone involved. The industry is watching with a mixture of intrigue and sheer bewilderment, wondering what objective could possibly justify this ongoing spectacle. The turning point has arrived, but it might not be the one Lively expected, as the judge's skepticism threatens to unravel key arguments.
The fan base in here, the Justin fans, if you will, we try not to pick a side, but I'm Team Justin only just because of the evidence so far. But a lot of people feel like Lyman has been unfair, has been biased towards Lively. I guess I want to start there before we break down some of these things. Like, do you, as someone who's seen him more often, especially as I went last hearing, I feel like he's just being super careful because this case is going to become an instrumental case, I imagine, that many will use in the future. Have you noticed any bias in your opinion? Do you feel like he's being fair? What are your thoughts sort of overall on Lyman and how he's handling the case?
Overall, I think he's been fair. I do have no...
Judge Lyman, the man presiding over the intense Lively-Baldoni legal battle, has raised eyebrows across Hollywood. While generally considered fair, there's an undeniable pattern. He seems to be exceptionally tough on Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman. This observation, noted by the legal expert, suggests that Lyman might disapprove of lawyers who try to sway public opinion outside the courtroom. This dynamic could be a major factor as the case progresses, potentially influencing key decisions that will shape the future of this high-profile dispute.
And, you know, as far as I see it, I do think that her claims are endangered to a large respect. I think that you know, her retaliation claims and her harassment claims, you know, the judge expressed some skepticism about it, rightful skepticism, and you know, I'm not sure that that's going to survive. I'd be surprised if he completely throws out this case, if this case doesn't make it to trial. But on the other hand, you know, I definitely expect there to be a huge narrowing down of the issues that are presented to a jury.
What do you think is...
Early decisions in the case heavily favored Blake Lively, leading many to question Judge Lyman's impartiality. Legal observers, including those who've seen Lyman in action numerous times, initially paused at this trend, wondering if there was an underlying bias. However, the expert's deeper insight reveals a more complex picture. Lyman appears to be proceeding with extreme caution, understanding that this particular case is poised to become an instrumental legal precedent, setting a new standard for future entertainment industry disputes.
Making of a movie. And so I think, you know, Lyman's going to talk about, you know, what sort of, you know, freedoms creators have to improvise. You know, I've heard on your program, you know, a lot of discussion about that dance scene. You know, we've seen the video from like 19 angles. It's like, you know, the Zapruder, you know, tape.
Zapruder film it is.
Yeah.
But it was like, but Lyman said it, because I'm pulling up your article, because good point of bringing it up. Like, Bach was I thought really strong and well point of like, we're here because of a lean in, and like, it's really what happened in that video. And there's a new video that came out where he does seemingly say, hey, I'm going to go in for a kiss. And it seems she says, okay. Like,
the true turning point isn't unfolding in dramatic courtroom showdowns, but in the imminent summary judgment ruling. The legal expert emphasized that this critical decision won't primarily hinge on the sensational evidence that has captured public attention. Instead, the judge will focus on technical legal points, a subtle but profound shift in strategy. This means that even with all the unredacted documents and public outcry, the case's trajectory is now dictated by intricate legal definitions rather than public perception, a development Hollywood is keenly observing.
For me, it's not necessarily whether there was consent or not. If that's the question, I could see the judge letting it go to a jury to decide. The question is whether consent is actually the proper standard here. You know, is that the line? Because if, you know, we have to guess about what is consent, that's a kind of a dangerous, slippery road where everyone just says, you know, oh, I didn't consent and we should, you know, bring it to a trial. I think, you know, again, we have to realize that we're in the middle of making a movie here. And so the judge might be very deferential to kind of the, you know, the process there. And to the extent that consent was needed.
Blake Liveland's court claims are now facing significant peril. The legal expert revealed that her retaliation and harassment claims are endangered, with Judge Lyman having expressed rightful skepticism about their viability. This is a dramatic shift from earlier proceedings and suggests that a substantial portion of her initial case might not even reach a trial. The judge's scrutiny is intense, focusing on whether these claims meet the rigorous legal standards required, leaving many in the industry wondering what will be left of the original accusation.
With this whole thing. Like,
you know,
I want to know the real answer. Like, and are they leaning towards? Do they incorporate Justin, or is Justin allowed to defend himself? Which is what I feel like Justin's doing. Like, Justin's screwed if he does nothing, whereas Blake and Ryan just hammered him. I mean, I've been subpoenaed by Blake myself for my coverage. Like, she's gone after all these content creators that are criticizing her. Like, do you sense Hollywood is seeing all that, and where do you think Hollywood sort of is standing in their level of BS and fed upness?
Yeah, I'm going to give you an answer that might not satisfy you here. So,
Okay.
so the answer that I see when I talk to people around Hollywood is
The expert doesn't anticipate the entire case being thrown out, but a huge narrowing down of issues for the jury is almost a certainty. This means if the case proceeds to trial, it will be a significantly trimmed down version, focusing on very specific, legally defensible points rather than the broad accusations initially brought forward. The judge's intention is clear, to ensure that only the most robust and legally sound claims are presented, which could drastically alter the public narrative surrounding the entire affair.
a mixture of intrigue and befuddlement. Like there's a real like why is she pursuing this? Like why is anyone involved in this pursuing this? No one sees kind of the end game where everyone gets out looking good. You know, it's very very hard to use courts to achieve vindication, and there's a real kind of like curiosity about, like if she had just let this go, wouldn't she be in better position? Now
1,000%, yeah.
Right. Now it just seems like, everyone involved, him and her, is a little.
Despite the widespread skepticism surrounding many of Gleiveland's claims, one accusation surprisingly appears to have staying power: the defamation claim against Justin Baldone's attorney, Brian Friedman. Judge Lyman has indicated that this specific claim might need to be decided by a jury, setting it apart from others. Additionally, some softer claims, potentially related to a hostile workplace environment, could also survive this critical stage. This suggests a targeted focus on specific incidents, rather than a broad condemnation of alleged misconduct, keeping the legal battles alive.
Is it, my theory now is that I think Blake's team kind of wants to lose, have Lyman throw it out, because I would think there's almost a venue of playing the victim. What an injustice. We tried so hard. This is what happens to women who speak forward. I almost think that's a better angle. Whereas if this goes to a jury, do you think a jury's gonna side with her? What do you think is the best move here for Blake?
One thing that I will never do is predict what a jury will do, because it's just like, it's like a dozen random people, and it just really comes down to storytelling, which side does a better job, and the makeup of the jury.
A crucial yet less discussed element is the First Amendment's role in filmmaking. The legal expert highlighted that Judge Lyman is deeply concerned about the freedoms creators have, particularly when it comes to improvisation on set. This concern could significantly impact how the court views actions within a creative context. It's a delicate balance between protecting individuals and safeguarding the artistic process, a dynamic that Hollywood is watching closely, as the outcome could set precedents for how creative boundaries are legally defined in the future. The infamous lean-in moment, captured from 19 different angles, has become central to the dispute, likened by the judge himself to the Zapruder film. This intense scrutiny of a single brief interaction underscores the granular detail with which the court is examining every aspect of the case. The constant re-evaluation of this pivotal scene, including new video evidence, highlights the relentless search for truth in a situation clouded by conflicting narratives and intense public speculation, adding layers of complexity to the legal proceedings. Further complicating the lean-in narrative, a new video has emerged where Justin Baldoni seemingly states his intention to kiss Blake Lavalin, and she appears to respond with "okay." This new footage directly challenges earlier arguments about lack of consent, suggesting a consensual interaction within the context of the scene. If verified, this evidence could drastically alter the perception of that specific moment, potentially weakening one of Glavalin's key contentions regarding inappropriate contact on set. The legal expert provocatively questioned whether consent is even the proper standard for an improvisational acting scene. This critical distinction could redefine the legal landscape for creatives. If every nuanced interaction on a film set requires explicit, ongoing consent in a way that differs from everyday life, it could create a dangerous slippery road where creative freedom is stifled. The judge's approach here is pivotal, seeking to balance individual protection with the practicalities of artistic collaboration. Judge Lyman may defer to the established production process itself rather than strictly applying a civilian standard of consent. The expert pointed out that Glavalin had already signed nudity riders and notoriously submitted a 16-point list of demands during the shoot. These facts could be interpreted as her active participation in defining boundaries and conditions, suggesting a level of pre-negotiated consent within the professional framework of filmmaking. This perspective could drastically undermine arguments based on a perceived lack of consent for specific actions. Hollywood's reaction to the entire saga is less about taking sides and more about profound intrigue and befuddlement. Insiders are openly asking why Glevlin, or anyone involved, continues to pursue a case where no one can truly win. There's a prevailing sentiment that if she had simply let it go, her public image might be in a far better position now. The cost, both financially and to reputations, seems astronomical, leading many to question the underlying motivation behind this protracted legal battle. The industry initially hoped this case would pull back the curtain on the dark arts of crisis management and social media manipulation, much like the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. However, the legal expert admitted that the revelations on this front have been disappointing. While there's talk of PR machinations, the expected bombshells about orchestrated smear campaigns or Russian bots seeding disinformation simply haven't materialized in court, leaving many to wonder if the alleged tactics were less sophisticated than anticipated. Accusations of smear tactics are flying both ways. The expert confirmed that Blake Glevlin and Ryan, her partner, have been hammering Justin Baldoni, going so far as to subpoena content creators who criticize Glevlin. Conversely, Baldoni's team is also engaged in standard stuff, boosting favorable content and angling against negative narratives. It's a two-sided PR war where the line between legitimate defense and calculated smear becomes increasingly blurred, making it difficult for the public to discern the full truth. The reality behind much of the alleged smear campaign seems to be less about bots and more about talking points given to creators. The expert noted that while unsavory, this kind of influence isn't new. PR teams have been trying to push reporters and content creators in certain directions for decades. This suggests that what some perceive as a sinister modern smear is, in many ways, an age-old practice simply adapted to the digital era, making it harder to prove a truly malicious, unprecedented campaign. Despite the dramatic framing by some, the court is yet to see compelling evidence of an army of Russian bots or widespread financially backed disinformation campaigns. The legal expert acknowledged that while such claims were initially anticipated, the actual courtroom disclosures have fallen short. This lack of concrete proof regarding the most sensational PR accusations means the case is unlikely to turn on these elements, shifting the focus back to the more traditional legal arguments and evidence presented. A fascinating, if cynical, theory circulating suggests Blake Levelin's team might actually want Judge Lyman to throw out the case. The expert speculated that playing the victim of an injustice could be a more strategic PR move than risking a jury trial. If the case is dismissed, her team could leverage the narrative that they tried so hard to speak forward, potentially garnering public sympathy more effectively than any jury verdict could achieve. Predicting a jury's decision is a fool's errand, the expert stated flatly, likening it to a dozen random people. What truly matters at trial is storytelling. Which side can craft the most compelling narrative for the jury? Both Glavelin and Baldoni are backed by very expensive, highly lawyered legal teams, ensuring an immense show if it ever reaches that stage. Yet, even with such a spectacle, the expert doubts either side will emerge as a true victor in the court of public opinion. Ultimately, the legal expert delivered a stark assessment that resonates deeply within Hollywood. Everyone's a loser here, except for the lawyers. The immense financial and reputational costs have taken their toll, with both parties now perceived as too hot to handle by some. The original objective of the lawsuit remains a mystery to many, as the path to vindication seems to have been lost amidst the ongoing controversy. This legal battle has become a cautionary tale, leaving a trail of questions and damaged reputations in its wake.